What's going on, Dolphin fans? It is your boy Dillon, and I got some breaking news for you. I made a video yesterday talking about how the CBA had not, been voted for one way or the other yet, or at least the decision had not been come to. I guess the votes hadn't been tallied or whatever, but we do have word today, so let's get to it. The NFL players vote to approve the new CBA with 17-game schedule, expanded playoffs. So the NFL players voted in favor of the NFL owners' proposed collective bargaining agreement Sunday, meaning a 17th regular season game and expanded playoffs are on the way in the near future. The NFLPA announced the union voted in favor of the agreement with 1,019 voting yes, and 959 players against the proposal. So as you can see, that's only a 60 vote difference with over 2,000 players. So it barely did get over the 50% mark. That's not a large margin there. Let me just finish this real quick, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. The new CBA is set to run through the 2030 season, and by agreeing to it now, it ensures there will be no work stoppage following the 2020 campaign. There will not be a lockout, but they could still strike. The players still could strike. I mean, they could strike at any time, frankly, so they could just decide to not fucking... In the same sense as, like, a player who does a holdout, right? Like, doesn't come to training camp or whatever. If they did it en masse, they could strike and they could say, no, if they wanted to. So that still is always on the table, and that always could happen. But barring that, it does look like this will be the agreement going forward for at least for the next 10 years. So yeah. After the NFL Players Association's representatives voted 17-14 in favor of putting the CBA to a vote, each of the NFL's nearly 2,000 players were afforded the opportunity to vote for or against the proposed CBA. Adding a 17th regular season game was seen as the biggest obstacle in the ratification of a new CBA, but with the players now agreeing, an extra regular season game will be played annually starting sometime in the next 4 years, although it won't occur during the upcoming season. From what I've seen, it's supposed to happen in the 2021 season, so next year. Also, the playoffs will be expanded to 7 teams in each conference, with only 1 team in each conference receiving a first round bye beginning in 2020. So that means this upcoming season. So now there's going to be 2 extra teams in the playoffs this year, and only the first seed gets a first round bye. So that's actually going to go into effect this year, this season. Next season is when the 17th regular season game is supposed to go into effect, from what I've seen so far. We'll see how this plays out. Most players seem to be against a 17th game being added, including Houston Texans defensive end J.J. Watt, who tweeted the following after the owners voted in favor of the CBA. "Hard no on that proposed CBA," is what he said. Although it may not be an ideal situation for the players, the league made several other concessions that convinced them to agree to the CBA. Chief among them is the fact that the players will earn a larger cut of the revenue share compared to the previous CBA. Also, to offset the addition of another regular season game, the NFL will shorten the preseason. So, the shortening the preseason is a marginal trade-off for the extra game, and now, again, we'll have to wait and see, but I find it personally unimaginable that the NFL and the owners would give up nearly half, because according to the CBA, it's 48.5% that they would be giving to the players. I find it unimaginable that they would give up half of their revenue, but we'll see how all that plays out going forward. Other player perks include a revised drug policy that will significantly lessen punishments for positive marijuana tests. Okay, but that's significantly lessened, so there's still going to be punishments. They're still going to have to deal with it, and it's super marginal. Higher minimum salaries and higher spending floors for each team. Okay, I mean, again, that's good, but that's also marginal. And because again, you also have to think, like, players like Ryan Fitzpatrick or whatever who did vote on it, he likely won't even be in the NFL for, but 1 or 2 more years. So And then there's a lot of there's a lot of players that are going to come into this, 3 or 4 years with only like 3 or 4 years left, right? Or 3 or 4 years into it, whatever. So, I mean, the things that the concessions that they gave to the players are super marginal compared to the type of revenue that they're going to end up making on the NFL and owners side of things. Anyway, also players will have their contracts amended to account for the extra regular season game with the addition of 1 game check, although the value of that game check cannot exceed $250,000. Okay, both the players and owners had to cut the other side some slack in order to make the new CBA reality. I doubt that. Literally, what did the owners really have to give up? And that's another thing, it's not like they actually have to give up anything, right? The owners don't actually give up shit. They're going to make more money than they did, so their profits and their revenue is going to increase. They gave a couple breadcrumbs to the players, but now the players have to put their bodies on the line for an extra regular season game and more playoff time. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. But now that it is officially in place, the NFL landscape will change significantly with alterations to the regular season and playoff schedules. And I saw a thing, I don't know. Oh, here it is. So from Ian Rappaport, this is what he tweeted out. What does a new CBA mean? 1 franchise or transition tag for teams going forward. So there's that as well. $700 million extra dollars in all for 2020, including $100K increase in minimums and labor piece, he says. So, I mean, look, again, I didn't actually read the entire thing word for word. And it seems to me like in this particular agreement, just like when it comes to politics, just like when it comes to almost anything that human beings vote on, it would seem to me as if a large portion, although again, this barely passed. There was over, roughly 2,000 players that voted on it, and it was a separation of 60 votes that got it to pass. But it seems to me as if there's probably a lot of young guys who are just ill-informed and don't really know how this is going to play out, or, maybe they just don't care for whatever reason. Maybe, I don't know. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, again, I didn't read it word for word. Obviously half the players did end up voting for it. So, it is what it is, but I think it's kind of a shame. Because again, to me, it just seems like it's very, very marginal. And, I read you some stuff from, other players. There was an article written by a practice squad guy. I didn't read the article, I don't believe, but I did mention it in one of my videos. There was a article by a guy that's been in the league now for 2 or 3 years. He's mostly been a practice squad guy, and he read through the entire CBA and realized that it's super marginal in what the players are getting. And, the fucking owners are pretty much going to rake in just ungodly amounts of money on the backs of the players, and it's like every fucking time there's anyway, look, I don't want to get in a soapbox about how fucking every time there's anything. I mean, look, even with the protesting shit, right, from Colin Kaepernick, like, there was no legit deal. Like, anyway, I don't want to, because the NFL fucking sucks in that regard. It's just another capitalist, money-hungry, greedy, fucking selfish corporate fucking piece of shit entity, just like every other fucking corporate entity in this country. And all it cares about is money, and it doesn't care about the quality of the game or the player's safety, really. All it gives a fuck about is just money, money, money. Anyway, that's about as far as I'm going to go on my soapbox. You guys know how I feel about it. But it is what it is. The players did vote on it. We'll see how, we'll have to wait and see how it goes forward. Again, about the only thing that could stop play or stop, work stoppage at this point is if, enforce, if a large enough contingent, let's say the 959 players that voted against it, if they all decided together, hey, we're just not going to play, the NFL would shut down. Right? So if half the players from the NFL decided, or I think that actually might be like a third of the players, but if a third of the players from the NFL decided not to play, it would be pretty significant, including a lot of the stars, right? So I don't know. Like I said, barring that, the NFL will go on. So as of right now, there will not be a holdout or anything from the 2021 season. And so we'll have to wait and see. Of course, too, we'll have to wait and see how things go. I mean, the playoff changes are going to be implemented this year. At the soonest, next year will be the 17th regular season game. Maybe they get into it and a lot of the players that signed up for it start changing their minds. And they're like, this actually really fucking sucks. And maybe they end up going on strike. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think it's kind of a shame. But it is what it is. They voted on it, so that's what they got to deal with for now. Alright, I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos. A perspective, if you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. See y'all soon. Phins up.